All right, folks. Good morning and welcome to a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. I am going solo today. Scott Belford here with you, normally joined by the best co host in the biz, Adam Mack. He, as some of you know, is in the midst of moving, and anyone who has moved knows the ups and downs of that. And he just got busy and wasn't able to do it. So we're going to fly solo here just with me. It is going to be a little bit shorter of a mailbag. I am coming to you from Seattle at the All-Star festivities. It has been such a wild experience, everybody. I'm in baseball heaven right now. This is my magnum opus baseball trip. I think I used that term correctly. But it is the peak of peak. I just watched Vladimir Guerrero Jr. win the home run derby yesterday. The wife and I were talking about it afterwards, and we were just like, can we think of a better baseball experience? I've been to a lot of baseball games and seen a lot of Blue Jays and a lot of cool stuff. And I know that there isn't actually any, what's the word? I guess the home run derby doesn't mean anything, is what I'm saying. So it was still so cool to watch, though, and be involved in it. To get to see Julio Rodriguez hit 41 bombs in one round, beat the one round record held by our very own Vladimir Guerrero Jr., to then watch Vladdy go head to head with him, eliminate him, and then to go on to the finals and beat our AL least competition Randy Arozarena. Oh, it was incredible, folks. It was honestly incredible. I'm never going to be able to top it unless this team gets to the World Series and I somehow manage to pull that off. We'll see. Anyways, it was very, very cool. So it is going to be a shorter mailbag. We have gone through all of the interaction from the last week. So there has been a pile of it. I know we missed Friday's show. Apologies for that. I know that we missed Long Toss. We normally don't do that. Again, with me in Seattle and Adam in the midst of moving, our hands were kind of tied. But we are back to it, trying to get stuff done here. Mini mailbag. Let's go. You can always reach out to us, I should say, on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast. Feel free to DM us. You can do the same on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Join the Discord if you've yet to do so. It's full of rabid Blue Jays fans constantly talking baseball and Blue Jays. Almost 300 members at this point. All you need to do to join that, reach out and we'll send you a Discord link. Super easy to sign up. And then finally, the priority bump goes to our Patreon members. If you're going to pay the $4 a month for the MLB Mondays, an extra show a week, as well as instant access to all of our interviews and shows, we really appreciate it. But you also, on top of that, get priority in the mailbag. So we do have a Patreon comment or two to get to today. All right, folks, let's get into it, okay? Mini mailbag time. We're going to start with Craig on Twitter. Reached out a few days ago. He said, "Hey guys, what time does that live podcast you're doing in Edmonton start? Can I get my ticket at the door?" So, Craig, hopefully we get to see you on Thursday. Very excited about this live podcast in Edmonton at Long Roof Brewing. So the time starts at 7:30. That's when we're going to get things rolling. Doors at 7. Feel free to come a little early and say hello. And then on top of that, we're going to do a little mini mailbag within the Friday show. So, of course, we're doing it live Thursday night. We'll air it for everybody on Friday. So yeah, if you do have a question or a comment that you wish to get into this mini mailbag on Thursday at the live show, come a little early and say hello and mention what you want to bring up. And of course, we'll get you on and go from there. Yes, you can get your tickets at the door. I will get Adam, when we put this up, to put the link at the top of the comments or within the show notes. If you use the code WALKOFF, you're going to get $5 off of that ticket price. We also did a contest, okay, on last mailbag as to who gets a free table of 4. And the winner for that was from Twitter. Sloppy Bag of Donuts is his is his handle. Ian Ross is going to be there, a table of four. So big congrats to Ian. Well done, sir. He got the question right of who was the last Blue Jay to win a Cy Young. I had a lot of folks reaching out being like, is this a trick question? This seems too easy. No, it's not a trick question. It was Robbie Ray. You are correct. It was just a couple of years ago. So nice and easy. Why are we putting hurdles in front of getting you folks to the show? So yes, it was an easy question. All right, Craig, hopefully we see you there again, everyone. That is Thursday in Edmonton. We're trying to unite Blue Jays fans under one roof in Alberta. We did so in Calgary a couple weeks ago. Edmonton, we're coming for you Monday. We're looking forward to it. We will now go to Patreon. So Marcus G from Patreon, new member to Patreon. Welcome, Marcus. I know you've been watching the show for years, so glad to finally have you on board as the priority bump for Mailbag here for you. He says, "Hey gents, hope you're both well. Question for the Mailbag. I've generally agreed with you about sitting tight this trade deadline, something Adam and I were talking about. Mr. Mack feels that maybe at the deadline, it's not that they shouldn't be buyers, but maybe they shouldn't be sellers either and kind of sit tight and bolster this lineup around the peripheral a little bit, which is probably what Atkins is going to do anyways. Okay, so we're going to get back into the Mailbag here. He says, I've generally agreed with you about sitting tight this trade deadline, going along with Adams as many kicks of the can at the can approach. However, this is predicated on Shatkin's wave of talent and sustainable competitive promises, something they have promised, right? Sustainable winners. However, I'm having less and less confidence in the front office delivering on this, given the death of major league regulars that are the dearth of major league regulars that have been promoted this past year and a half, which we haven't seen many. We did see Spencer Horwitz make his MLB debut. We watched Nathan Lucas get the call up out of spring training, but not a lot there. No offense to Lucas and Horowitz, obviously good players who could develop into full-time guys, especially Horowitz. Lucas already 29. He's probably what he is, which is a very versatile outfielder that has some very good defense and the hero on Sunday's game. So no slander of Nathan Lucas, but I do get what Marcus G is saying. So he says, if we can't trust Shatkins to keep the pipeline going, we really have three kicks at the can before going through, hopefully, a short rebuild. He's, of course, talking 2026 when Vlad and Bo are free agents. If we adopt this approach instead, how much more willing should we be to surrender prospect capital at the deadline? Okay. So a few things here. Marcus, number one, thank you so much for joining Patreon and for the question. It's a tough one to answer because we are 9 games over 500. This is a team that is in a wild card spot currently. This is a team that is probably underperformed. There's probably more in the tank, and you would hate to waste one of the years of having Vlad and Bo on this team because you're not winning the division, right? Like we've seen wild card teams go all the way to the World Series. We've seen wild card teams win the World Series. So maybe I'm starting to change my tune a little bit. Maybe I would like to see them not go all in at the trade deadline. I would hate to see Ricky Tiedemann traded or any of those top prospects, Ralvis Martinez, because the depth at the top of this Blue Jays pipeline is pretty thin. So they have some very good, talented prospects coming up. High A Vancouver might be one of the best high A affiliate teams with talent in Major League Baseball. The problem is there's not a lot at AAA currently, and there's not a lot at AA. I shouldn't say not a lot because Adam Kloffenstein has made some big step forward, so he looks good pitching wise. Semro Burse is in AA currently, probably starting next year in AAA. I actually got to see the Futures game on Saturday, and Semro Burse pitched, and he looked really good. Listen, he had 2 hits allowed. Both of them, if you saw them, you'd laugh. They were slow rollers that it felt like those ground ball with eyes. You know how they say that? Oh, that ground ball had eyes. That's exactly what it was like. Just kind of missed the second baseman, just kind of missed the shortstop, and then he had a swinging strikeout. Yosfer Zulueta not quite the same. He struggled a little bit at the futures game. Nonetheless, there's talent within this Blue Jays pipeline. So maybe they can bolster this team using some of that lower level talent. It's all going to depend on what other organizations view as it depends on how other teams view this organization's depth, right? And that was a problem they ran into last year is that there were front offices that came out and said, you know what, the Blue Jays, they've got a year or two to go before we're interested in what they're offering. So maybe that's improved this year. I think that we are going to see a step forward come next season when some of these high A guys make the next step up. So I guess to answer the question of would I like to see them bolster at the trade deadline, I don't wish to see them kick the can, right? Like I don't wish to see them boot on the season. So definitely I want to see a middle of the order bat. I know that's a tough acquisition. Okay. Can we get Teoscar Hernandez back? We keep saying this jokingly, but seriously, can we get Teoscar Hernandez back? We'll trade the Mariners, Adam Macko, and cash, right? Just so I would like to see at least a bat of some kind that they can stick in the middle here, a right-handed bat, which is hilarious to say after pining over left-handed bats for years here, but it would be nice to see a right-handed bat in the middle of this order. I would like to see maybe some bullpen augmentation, one more guy, a little bit of starting pitching depth. That said, Chad Green should be coming back to bolster the bullpen, depending on how he continues to rehab. Hyunjin Ryu is making starts right now in the Florida Coast League, kicking butt against teenagers. I know that we all were pretty bummed out when Alec Manoah got blown up in the Florida Coast League. Ryu doing what he should be doing. He pitched, I think it was 4 innings. He's up around 60, 70 pitches, so they're still stretching him out. But Ryu coming back could really be a big boost to this team because they would be able to maybe go with a 6-man rotation for a little bit and give some rest to these starting pitchers because the pitching has been stressed. Chris Bassett, Jordan Romano, Tim Meza, Eric Swanson, Kevin Gosman, and there's one more. I do have a point here. Anyways, all of these guys are on pace for career highs in innings pitched, which is not great. So if you can get Ryu into this mix, right, and you can give a little bit of breathing room for some of these starting pitchers, which is going to allow guys like Trevor Richards to go back to his traditional bullpen role and maybe take some stress off of these other bullpen pieces that I just mentioned, like Meza and Swanson and Romano. Like the fact Romano is on pace to break his career high in innings after doing so last year, it's a little nerve-wracking. You don't wish these guys to get injured, and we've seen what happens when innings get increased too much. I mean, Alec Manoah, I think big parts of his problem this season was his innings increase. There's a laundry list of problems with Manoah, so I'm not pinning it just on that. But I think all of you get what I'm saying, right? You do need to manage these arms, and overusage is just going to come back to bite this team in the end. So that's probably what I would like to see happen at the trade deadline. That said, I totally get what Marcus G is saying, right, Marcus? You don't want to boot on this year, but at the same time, maybe holding pat is what's best for 2024, not giving up a guy like Ricky Tiedemann. We'll need to see what Atkins and Shapiro does there. Atkins, I still think he's a little bit on the hot seat. I don't see him doing anything but at least moderately buying. Who knows, though, right? You never know. They could go all in. I just don't wish to see them give up some of those guys like Ricky Tiedemann, where you can just see there's nothing but potential in the future for him. All right, moving on here. Oh, by the way, Arjun Namala, who I actually got to see be drafted, which is pretty crazy. We were at the Play ballpark during the draft and got to see the Jays make that first round pick, which was very, very cool. 17-year-old, and he's another guy that's going to bolster this system at the bottom end, right? So the Blue Jays system is getting better. In fact, I read an article from MLB just recently talking about that, how the Blue Jays, yes, maybe not be the best farm system in the league, but could be in a couple of years with what they're building right now in low and high A. All right, to YouTube. This one is from Jeffrey Harris, and he says, building on Adam's point, by mid afternoon, the very next day of Herman's perfect game, so the perfect game that Herman threw with the Yankees, we were talking about that. And he goes, it was the second last story on the MLB homepage. So this is the day after Domingo Herman threw the perfect game. If it were, say, Ohtani or Verlander, it would still be among the lead stories even today. Even New York media let the story die after a couple of days. He basically got absolute minimum amount of coverage, such as an accomplishment would warrant, which is as it should be when good things happen to horrible people. Very, very perfectly put, in my opinion, Jeffrey. Great add on to what Adam was saying. And this is very cool. Now I'm just bragging at this point, but we actually, the wife and I wound up running into Felix Hernandez, King Felix. Of course, he was at the All Star Celebrity Soft Pitch game and then was mulling around the park the next day. So we ran into him, got our photo taken with him, and he was the last perfect game by a good human being back in 2011. So Felix Hernandez, the big cat, very cool. Okay, moving on now, and this is one of my favorite handles that reaches out at Jenny from the Rock in Newfoundland says, "Hey guys, how you feeling about Alec Manoah's start? Is he back?" So, this is a tough question. I felt good about Alec Manoah's start. He was facing the Tigers, but you still got to make your pitches. These are still major league players. You still got to get those outs. Okay, he went 6 innings. He allowed a run in a complete blowout by the Blue Jays. I think they won that one 12-2 or something like that. Great confidence building start. He looked decent in Double A after his fall on his face start we all heard about in the Florida Coast League. And I was really surprised to see them take the jump and move him up to the big league level. Now, there were some reasons why I understood why they did it. Number one, of course, the Tigers is a soft landing spot if you wish to get him back to the major league level. I think that they were really stressed. I mentioned innings limits, or not limits, but innings pitched by some of the bullpen guys and how so many of them are on pace for career years with it. So I think that that did have something to do with it. Trying to continually stretch Trevor Richards out was just putting too much strain on some of these other guys and on Trevor Richards, who is also on pace to break his innings limit or innings record for his career. So I was worried that they were maybe rushing Manoah back because of that rock at a hard place they were in, and maybe they were. But it did work out for the best, and now big Puma, Alec Manoah, can take this All-Star break off and give give him some positive stuff to build on over this break, right? Because I think that that's one of the biggest problems with Alec this year is that he doesn't have the confidence he did last year. He's going through some mental hurdles, which happens when you struggle, right? He went all the way down to the Florida Coast League. It's almost unprecedented. So, of course, there are these negative feelings that he had towards himself that hopefully now with some positivity he can build on. Do I think he's fixed? Absolutely not. This is for sure going to be a process. We're definitely going to see some bumps and bruises along the way in the Alec Manoah return to the big leagues. I do like some of the things I saw out of him when he pitched. I think it was Friday. Okay. I love that he was hitting his spots. I love that he had lowered his walk so much. He wasn't giving up a ton of hard contact, and his slider looked so much better. Was it perfect? No. But you know what? Again, it's those positive things that you can build on. So good for Alec Manoah. And truly, it does really benefit this team to have him back in the starting rotation. Again, just for limiting some of these innings that the bullpen has been put on. So thank you, Jenny from the Rock. Just one of my favorite handles. Always love to hear from you. And then we are going to go to Discord here again. This is a mini mailbag. I know that we normally get right into it and do a full hour here, so my apologies that this is just probably going to be just under 30 minutes, but it is what it is. Please come out to the Edmonton show if you're an Edmontonian, and we'll do a little mini mailbag there. You can get your questions and comments in. So, the final one here, we went to Discord. Mr. Krister in Discord. And again, if you want to join the Discord, just reach out on Twitter or DM Adam on Instagram and we'll send you a Discord link. It's really easy to sign up for, and it is a happening place. And of course, with Twitter sort of imploding right now, if you are looking for a place to kind of shoot the shit with Jays fans, our Discord is a good place to be. So Mr. Krister says, can we get Schneider to pitch to Vlad the rest of the season? Very funny. I love that. John Schneider, honestly, one of the best pitchers at the home run derby. You watch what he was doing. He knew where Vlad wanted it. He knew the speed Vlad wanted it. He knew the rhythm Vlad wanted it in. Of course, he was the pitcher in 2019 at the home run derby when Vladdy went to the finals and didn't quite have enough juice in him to get it that time, helping Vladdy win the 2023 home run derby. I think it just strengthens the bond of this team. And it was really cool to see Bo Bichette there goofing around with Vlad, having a good time on the mic for ESPN. It was so cool to see Jordan Romano there tussling his hair and right in it, to see just the camaraderie. And I know that this team has a pile of camaraderie. We've seen it over the years. But you know what? I think it is something that has been mentioned for the 2023 season is that it has felt like maybe it's a little bit less fun in the clubhouse. And I don't know if that's actually the case, but as fans, that has been some of the rhetoric. So to watch them bond and have fun, and to see Bo and Vlad being the Bo and Vlad that maybe we remember from 2021, right? It was heartwarming. It was cool to see. So Mr. Krister, great comment. Again, I know this is a short mailbag, but thank you so much, everybody. A tip of the hat to you. Look at my All-Star game hat. Pretty darn cool. So I'm going to leave you on that. And the wife and I are going to head down to T-Mobile Park right now, literally, and wait it out until the All-Star game starts. All the best, everybody. Thank you so much. Again, the code is WALK-OFF if you're going to buy tickets for the Edmonton show. We hope to see you out. You can always send us messages for the next mailbag on Twitter at WalkOff Podcast and on Instagram, the WalkOff Podcast. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Cheers.